You're listening to The Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
Monday. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, and good night. I'm Daniel Hargrove. Welcome to The Scrimmage.
I'm Justin Domashevitz. We got a great show for you today. I actually listened this past week to the 2017 Men's Basketball College Championship game, North Carolina over Gonzaga, and I will give you a thorough recap of that game in today's show.
And I will not, because I did not. So let's get it going with the 2-minute drill brought to you by State Farm agent Mark Rossetti.
It's not just a home or a car, it's the 6 months you save to get your Ultra HD flat screen just in time for football season. It's the overtime you worked for that third car so that your team can drive themselves to practice. While other insurance companies just see them as a bundle or a combo, State Farm agent Mark Rossetti sees your home and car as things you work really hard for. Mark understands what your things really mean to you and is here to help you give them the protection they deserve. Visit Mark Rossetti at 613 Oak Street in Aberdeen for your home and auto insurance today.
Let's go, huddle up. Gotta hurry. Hey, 2-minute situation, 44 seconds, hand the ball to the ref. Gonna do it right. 3 jet Buckeye, on one, 3.
The 2-minute drill starts now.
During an appearance on Golic and Wingo, ESPN's Jay Williams suggested that the NBA should play its playoffs on cruise ships, testing the players and their families and keeping them isolated at sea through the tournament. Justin, is Jay Williams an idiot?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else you would expect from somebody who chose to play college basketball at Duke, but yes, he's an idiot. You got multiple issues here. First off, a cruise ship becomes a petri dish of disease. So if you're trying to get away from disease, you don't want to put a whole bunch of people on a cruise ship for an extended period of time. Also, like, I've been on a cruise ship. I feel like for many people, seasickness could end up being an issue if you spend all those days at sea. This is just stupid. It's stupid. Jay Williams is an idiot. Former Steeler, Raider, and Patriot wide receiver Antonio Brown worked out with Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson and wideout Hollywood Brown last week. Antonio is Hollywood's cousin. Daniel, if you were the Ravens, would you like to add Antonio Brown to your roster?
No, of course not. Are you kidding me? I don't care what team I'm coaching. I do not want that guy anywhere near anything. I would probably tell his cousin, hey, you should probably not hang out with that guy too much. He's just bad news and bad for a team, and I wouldn't touch that with not a million. No. I don't care what it is. I was thinking I was going to say a 10-foot pole, but that's not long enough. It's not. The NCAA will permit Division I spring sport athletes who had their seasons shortened by the coronavirus pandemic to have an additional year of eligibility. Justin, will this create a logjam on rosters next season? And was this the right thing to do for the NCAA?
I think ultimately it really was the right thing to do, because now you're giving the athletes and the schools the choice of what they want to do. So not all those athletes are going to come back. In fact, many of those kids, if they're playing the non-revenue generating sports, they pay most of their own way through college anyway. So a lot of them are going to say, okay, well, I'm graduating, I'm moving on. It stinks that I missed my senior season of sports, but it's more important to get on with my life. It could create a slightly bigger issue in football and basketball, but that's just going to create situations where the schools are going to have to choose who gets those scholarships. So for, I would say, probably 80% of the athletes and schools, it's not going to be an issue at all, but you might create a little bit of an issue, especially in football, bringing a lot of new scholarship athletes into play.
But that's why it's just spring sports, so football and basketball are not brought into it at this point.
Oh, you're right. I was projecting. Sorry. Los Angeles Dodger third baseman Justin Turner thinks the MLB extra inning games should end with a home run derby if the outcome isn't decided after the 10th. Turner said, "You take each team's 3 best hitters and you give them all 5 outs and see who hits the most homers." Daniel, would you like to see baseball switch to this fun new format?
No. And I think we have a theme in the 2-minute drill because I think Justin Turner is an idiot. Are you kidding me? The best part about baseball is a close game at the end. Extra innings is just that. I mean, you can watch 7 innings of a baseball game and kind of just hang out with your friends. Once you get down to the nitty-gritty of a close game at the end, that's when you start paying attention to every single pitch because you know that can change the entire game. One pitch, one swing of the bat could completely change everything. The last time I went to a game and went to extra innings, and there is no game I will remember more than watching a game like that where your stomach is literally tightening into knots because you're so invested on every single pitch that comes in.
I'm actually glad that you called out my answer on the collegiate sports one, because what I did was start talking about something that I heard earlier this week where they were discussing what happens if it extends into other sports, but I didn't explain that very well. There's been a lot of speculation that there might be no college football season coming up. I'm not sure if we lost Daniel or not, but he is definitely frozen on my screen.
Oh man,
No, he's
but
good. He's
I had
here.
lots of frozen issues last time.
You're back. Okay. But basically what I was saying is, like, spring sports, even baseball, a full baseball scholarship, it does not cover close to all of your tuition. So it's not going to create a financial issue for the colleges because those kids are paying most of their way through college anyway. If they want to come back, they can come back. They can have a chance to be a part of the team. I think the next step would be for the NCAA to expand the amount of scholarships that teams are allowed, because they all have limits on how many they're allowed. But, you know, there's plenty of time for them to make those decisions. I felt like it was a really good first step for them to make that decision now about allowing spring sport athletes to have that extra year.
Yeah, they've also kind of addressed that. I don't think they've made a final decision on how many yet, but they've also talked about roster sizes, because if you do have more people staying than you were expecting, that would give teams less spots to bring in some of the freshmen that they were recruiting. So I believe they're talking about how to deal with that situation as well. Justin, you told me regarding our last question that you were at, an 18-inning game?
Yes, I was at a Mariners 18-inning game.
How awesome would that be? Oh, I wish I was at that game.
We had decided, and my dad and I have generally had a rule, no matter what sporting event we went to all through my childhood and adult life, that we are going to stay to the end. We are never going to be the people who walk out with 5 minutes left trying to beat the traffic. If we get stuck in traffic, we get stuck in traffic. We're going to stay to the end of the game. I'll tell you, during that 18-inning game, there were moments where I experienced doubt about that policy. Especially when I think there was like a 7-inning extra inning stretch where nobody scored any runs for a while. And so the game got, like, we're looking at it and I'm like, okay, I got to be to work at 5:00 in the morning. We're approaching 1 a.m. Ultimately, the point that you made, and this was off air, but you said you're going to remember that forever. I've been to dozens of Mariners games. I don't remember everything about every Mariners game. I will remember that forever. That was a great experience to have.
Yeah, like I said, the last game I went to was an extra inning game, and I don't know how yours ended, but mine ended in a Mariners walk-off win, so that was like the extra cherry on top. Yeah. But most of the complaints with baseball is that it's boring. And that is like the part in the game where it's not boring. Like if it's a 6-run game in the 7th or 8th inning, then everybody's like, yeah, this game's kind of over right now. But once it actually gets down to, like I said, every pitch mattering, that's when baseball is actually the most exciting. So
Yeah.
I don't think the extra innings needs to change just because Justin Turner is going to be late for a date that he set up after the game.
I agree with your point when you're in and like I said, I'm not advocating for this rule to be changed, but I would agree with that point where it feels so much like you're hanging on every pitch when it's the 12th inning and the 13th inning. But like the further you go into extra innings where it seems like nothing's happening, it can start to feel like, oh my God, this game's never going to end. And you start rooting for just something to happen, whether it's your team or the other team. So I can understand when you get to like 16, 17, 18 innings, but that also doesn't really happen all that often. You know, most extra inning games are resolved somewhere between 10 and 13.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I do understand that, especially if you're a fan in the stands. You're just like, okay, especially on a weeknight, like you said that you had to be at work at 5 a.m. That would be pretty brutal, but it's so rare. It's so rare that it gets to that, especially with all the home runs that get hit nowadays. It seems like somebody will just be up there hacking and connect with one. But I did like that you just said that his format that he proposed was all wrong too, because he said every hitter would get 5 outs.
That's too much.
Yeah. Give him 1 out. Give him 1 swing of the bat. And I think that the other thing is so many people point to like, oh, well, soccer does this with shootouts and hockey does this with shootouts.
That was that was the basis of Justin Turner's argument as well.
It's so weird. Like you're ending a soccer game played in all these different facets of the game with a random one-on-one matchup. Like you could have the best team in the league in soccer and then just A, have a bad shootout, or B, not have the type of players who are better at it. I don't know how soccer works that much, but it just seems like you're playing an entire game and then you're finishing it with a random skills competition.
Yeah, I agree. And I've heard that argument made about soccer and hockey as well. A lot of people don't like the way soccer games end in a shootout. I mean, I don't really watch soccer or follow soccer. So, I mean, to me, a soccer shootout seems kind of exciting. But I understand also the other side of that argument that, okay, well, we just spent, 90 minutes or whatever playing a game a certain way, and all of a sudden we're going to decide it in a way that is not anything like what we've just spent 90 minutes playing. So yeah, I totally understand.
Yeah, especially when normal soccer games have like a total of 10 shots on goal, and now you're going to end it with 10 in 2 seconds. Like, I don't know. It just seems weird.
I want to say in hockey's defense that overtime wins are counted differently for the points system. So at least it's not the exact same as, like, you're not deciding it and it having the same amount of weight as a normal time win.
Well, yeah, they don't do a shootout until after an overtime period too, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But that also was like Turner's proposal, because he was saying after 10 innings, then you go to the home run derby.
1 extra inning.
Yeah, 1 extra. That also wouldn't be. So everything about what he said was wrong. Doing it in the first place and then how he proposed to do it was all. Come on, Justin Turner. I know you're bored, but you're bored. You should come up with better solutions to problems you think you have. All right, that was the 2-minute drill brought to you by State Farm agent Mark Rossetti.